Here's to being home for a week. I haven't really decided how long I'm going to keep a cat down for, or really what this is going to evolve into, but I figure if I'm still writing and I'm still processing, then I'll keep the conversation going. I got a little bit of writing done this week, not nearly as much as I hoped, and I had brought up to my wife that I'm not done yet and I'm so frustrated because when am I going to make time? And she was like, I don't understand the question. I was like, but I'm doing so many things, like when am I going to make time? She was like, you tell Emma and I you want to write and you go write. Oh. See, I'd had this timeline in my head, and because I didn't meet it, I couldn't finish things. And how often do we create that mentality? Like, here's our deadline, but then we don't hit it. So we just crumple it and we just let it go. So I've kind of had to reframe that and really give myself the headspace as I write. So I'm setting up to write, and I just want to give a few thoughts that I've had. One of the things that came up was during a coaching call I had today. And several, actually, things popped up with that. And one of them was the fact that I love coaching. It's what I enjoy because I enjoy learning about people, and because at some point somebody did it for me, right? I have a different life because of the people in mine. So I want to pay that forward. But I spend most of my time working on a website and running payroll and chasing chickens, and not the fun chickens. I like our white and brown chicken. But like, I do all these things because I think they create movement, but do they actually create momentum? And do I want to be the one pushing the cart and the horse all the time? Or do I just want to teach someone how to ride a horse and take the cart with them? Well, of course, when I put it like that, I want the second one. Okay, thanks. So I've really spent this week looking at what are the things that I'm doing that are creating movement. So there are things that need to be done. There are tasks that obviously need to happen, but maybe they don't need to have a timeline. Or maybe they're not as important as I'm labeling them, because if I put them at a level of importance, then I don't have to do this other big hairy thing that I don't want to deal with. Right? And that's movement. But what does momentum really mean? Momentum means a forward swing. Momentum means a whole thing, not just one or two items. So taking a step back to look at what are the things that I need to let go of, what are the things that I'm working on outsourcing, and I don't want to be tired anymore. I don't want to live a perpetual existence of exhaustion, and that's kind of where I'm at. Everybody else around me gets exhausted, Elizabeth. That's not fun. And that's kind of a key phrase that I'm definitely living in movement instead of momentum. And if you think about it, the idea of momentum means that I take other people with me. That we're all going. Not just me like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Because it's also exhausting. Nobody wants that kind of person. I don't want to be that kind of person. You don't want that kind of person as a leader. So in a coaching call this morning, I realized I'm not doing the things I love, which is coaching, writing, creating this stuff. I'm doing the things that create the movement, because that is what makes me feel valuable, because in my head, that's where I'm needed. In reality, that's the stuff that I really just get in everybody else's way with. So I was talking to one of our leadership team, and I said, hey, have you done this task yet? And she's like, no. And we started walking through, and she's like, well, it's really easy that when a teammate needs me, I just step aside and I help them. I was like, all right, cool. Is that actually helping them? Or is it helping you avoid something? And she was like, probably helping me avoid something. And she walked herself through it. She was very honest. Like, I would rather talk to them than do this assignment, because this assignment means I have to focus on me. Real talk, most of us do that. I'd rather go do this because that's more fun. Our team is more fun than having to go look at that. And she actually brought up the fishing analogy. It is always better for us to teach our teams to go fish because they'll fish for life, rather than just handing them a fish and saying good luck. So she already got part of the analogy, and it got me to thinking, like, how often do we as leaders take ourselves fishing? And you can think metaphorically or physically, but like, if you've ever been fishing, you have to put the Was this part I don't like? No. I use the fake bait for this reason. You have to put the squiggly worm, and it dangles, and it moves, and you have to figure out how to stab it through the heart and through it. It's a small creature, and I have a hard time with that, and it's slimy. And you see how I work myself up? So it's easier for me just to go to the grocery and pick up a fish. I'll take that one. It's already clean, it's already ready for me, it's already prepped. But you see, if I go fishing, then I have to get over things. And if I go fishing, I have to take my time. And if I go fishing, usually I don't have cell service. So I'm stuck with me, myself, and I. So I have to learn the art of thinking and the art of patience and waiting for a fish to bite. Now, I haven't been fishing in years, and it's not my favorite thing to do in the world, but I enjoy the peace that comes with it, because I do not like when the fish comes in the boat. Not that I've experienced that often. I'm more likely to catch the back of my hoodie or a tree. I've got a few turtles. Those are gnarly. But it's not what you catch. It's what you learn in the middle. It's what you learn when you take yourself fishing. When you go through the ugly of putting the worm on. When you go through the ugly of trying to catch the fish where you don't cut your hand open. And then, are you a catch and release? Are you willing to do it again? But you have to put yourself in isolation and learn those things about yourself before you can teach anybody else to fish. Because if you've never been fishing, how are you going to teach somebody else to do it? How are you going to teach them to be patient with themselves? How are you going to teach them to take time with themselves? How are you going to teach them that it's okay? A great example is what I've just been through. I said, so how hard was it for me to be gone for 3 weeks? And she was like, well, we didn't burn down. I was like, okay. Most of the team's happy, right? And I was gone for most of a month. She's like, yeah. We still made some big changes while I was gone, yeah? Yeah. So it's okay for me to go and to focus on the 6 inches between my ears. But you can't take 10 minutes once a week to do it. And that's really all fishing is taking that 10 minutes to yourself, to be able to reset, to be able to learn the art of those things, to be able to really figure out, are you in movement or momentum? Do you have the right players in the right places? Are you being truthful with your own conversations and doing the things you love? Or do you have a checklist that dictates what you're doing every day? And do you have the things in place that work for you? My brain works a little differently. My daughter's does too. I've spent half of today working with her and being able to explain, I have Post-its and slivers of paper and notes randomly written. I also have 6,000 reminders in my phone that go off on certain days at certain times. And I have calendars and because that's the only way I can process. It's the only way I can function. And quite frankly, it's what's made me successful, is being able to find the ways to hack my own brain. But you have to go fishing if you want to be able to learn how to hack your brain. Because if all you're doing is hacking a brain that's broken, you're putting a Band-Aid on a pipe that's burst. It's not going to hold for a real long time. And if you're focusing on that pipe that's burst, the sky's going to feel like it's falling all the time. And then you're going to be reactive, and then everything you do is going to be reacting. And then you're going to come home at the end of the night, and you're going to treat everybody just like you treated them all at work, which is reacting. And yeah, there is a certain part of what we do as leaders is look at people and firefight, right? There's a certain part of my job is to find out what you need, find a different way to look at it, and send you anyway. Firefighting, right? But coming from a place of peace with that, and reminding them that everything is figure-outable, that is so much worth so much more. So today, as I was home with my kid, and I think the thing that kids really teach us is to reframe. You start out a day, you think it's going to be one thing, and then you realize that they have needs that they have to meet. So you have to reframe your brain to be able to meet those needs. But then you really get these cool connection pieces. You get these moments that you'll really treasure. I don't know if she'll remember them, but I will. They weren't easy, they weren't super fun, but I kind of loved them. And it's because of reframing, right? It's taking out of reaction. So I made a sandwich earlier. And as I'm eating my sandwich, I'm scrolling on my phone, just looking at things, and I realized by like the 5th scroll on my phone that like I've eaten half a sandwich and I have no idea what I just looked at. But I can tell you that I don't know if I'm full or not, and I feel like I haven't accomplished enough. So not only have I distractedly eaten a sandwich that my body needs for nutrition, this body that takes me through all the things in this life, this body that has made it and survived all this shit, and I don't. And if I feel like I'm not enough, then at a subconscious level, maybe I wasn't reading those posts, but I was comparing myself in them. So that's 2 unhealthy habits at one time. So I took my phone, and I placed it face down, and I ate the second half of the sandwich. Dude, that sandwich was delicious. I put a lot of time and effort into it. I put the mayo on, I squirted the smiley face and the mustard, I sprinkled the sprouts on it, I put the avocado on the other side. I don't always take time for avocado, so I took the time for the avocado on the other side, and I laid the turkey just like I learned when I worked at Subway, and I took the sandwich and I cut it diagonally because that gives you the most time without crust. Like, I thought all of this out when I was making the sandwich. And then I spent the first half, but then the second half, put my phone down, and I looked outside the kitchen window while I ate it. And I had the thought, like, what if I just challenged myself for the next week to focus on just eating what I'm eating? Nothing else. No eating and meeting, no eating in notes, no eating on social media. Because in reality, how long does it take us to eat? 3 minutes, maybe 4. So you're telling me that twice a day I don't have 5 minutes each to be with myself? I want to live that way. I know I've heard the phrase before and I don't know who to attribute to, but if you don't have time to meditate in your life, you don't have a life. And I definitely feel that. I may not always get the amount of time I want to meditate, and I may not always get it in the way that I like it, but just a few minutes can help you with reactions so much. It can help you stop where you are and realize what you have in front of you. And so while I was eating this, it made me think of the book that I read. I just finished it, Living with Monks. And one of the things it talks about is part of the reason they're so successful is that they monotask. Well, in my head, I didn't hear monotask. I heard monk tasking. So, sorry, really smart dude that wrote a really awesome book, Living with Monks, but in my head, what you said every time was monk tasking. And so how can I monk task things? Well, when I eat, I need to just eat. Not check a phone, not answer the phone, not have my phone anywhere near me or on any sound, right? Something else I can do is when I'm in the car, I've got 20 to 30 minute ride to work every day. Turn my phone on silent. Whatever needs to happen for that 1 hour commute, I could have to myself. I could be decompressing, processing, thinking, just driving. Just one task at a time. Just one. Because there's a lot of studies out there about interruption fatigue. And I think that's a really real thing. And I'm not going to go into it today. But I just want you to think about that. Like, if interruption fatigue is a real thing, then wouldn't the answer to that be to monk task things? And if it's the answer to it, then wouldn't it give you more energy? So part of what I'm hoping to find out and part of what I'm thinking is going to happen is based off a science research thing that I read a long time ago. God, I hope I can find this article again. But the article basically talks about that they have 3 rooms, and in each room they have set up chocolate chip cookies. That's what it was. And so in the first room, they told the people, you can't have any. Chocolate chip cookies sit in the front, and you can't have any. Well, of course, over half the participants were like, and they snuck them, right? It doesn't even matter how many they snuck them. So in the control room, they told them you can have however many you want, but not the control room, but in another room, you can have however many you want, but you can't talk to the other people in the room. Well, they noticed on average they only had 2 cookies apiece. Okay, 2 cookies sounds about right, right? Then on the last room, they told them, here's chocolate chip cookies, and go ahead and chat with each other, and you can have as many cookies as you want. And they noticed that by setting up a room where people are talking to each other and distracted, that on average they were having 3, 4, 5 cookies because they weren't paying attention to what they were doing while they were talking. And so what they found with the study was that people that sit and savor their food don't actually need more of it because their body has experienced it. The whole body is full rather than just a flavor on a tongue or just the belly being full. Like, it's a process. And how often do we lose the beauty of processes because we're so distracted by all these things going on? So they always say that it's not the journey. It's the whatever that you get there. It's not in the destination, it's the journey. Well, I don't think it's even the journey. It's learning the art of the process. So what is your process? And how can you slow it down to speed it up? And how can you monk task things from here moving forward? So I challenge you. Step 1, only eat. No phone. If you want to go totally monk, no talking at 1 meal a day, try it. See. Let me know. I'm curious to see how it goes. Now, for me to go monk task some more writing.